So I did not really prepare a talk. So I will improvise a little bit about and talk a bit about my modules. I'm Jan Willem from Ginko Synthese, and this year I did not bring anything really new because I have been working on a compressor for 2.5 years, and that was a bit of a rabbit hole. So the problem with compression is that you can always do it better because it's a matter of taste, and when you start doing it, you change the taste, and then you go further and further and further. So 2.5 years ago, I think 2 years ago, I already presented here my first compressor, and now 2 years later, I'm presenting the same, but then in a new version. So it's, but now I say it's finally completely finished, so I will not change anything anymore, because now I think it's really how it should be, how I think it should sound. I have started the compressor as a Magma. The Magma was a project which I started from scratch as playing with diodes, and then a compressor came out, and then I stepped into the rabbit hole, and that was a quite deep rabbit hole. So now I'm finished and start going on with a new rabbit hole, and the rabbit hole I'm starting in now is basically compression, I think, because my next step is going into distortion and saturation, which is a little bit of the same concept and comes from the same idea. But I like the process of this 2.5 years so much that I want to continue and make it a new module with more controls and more fine-tuning. And the Tefra is my second compressor I made. And from there I will start doing compression and tapes. No compression because I stopped compression now. I will start do distortion and saturation. So I will show you first the result of 2.5 years working on the Magma. The Magma I bring 2 years ago here for the first time, which then became a DIY kit, and that's still available on several places, which is a really nice compressor already, but it's more crunchy. So if you like more crunchy sound, you should find the old one and not the new one, because the new one is really fine-tuned to sound sweet and nice. So I made a little patch with a kick drum, so I will just put on the kick drum and play a little bit with the kick drum at a clap, I think, and then see what it does, what compression does with it. And maybe, I don't know if you listen at home with a headphone or whatever, a good system, because if you listen on the laptop speakers, you will not really hear what it's doing, I think, so be prepared. This is just a simple kick drum, nothing special. I will now add some compression, and let's see how. I did not check it how it sets, but this is now quite aggressive. Well, let's make a longer kick drum. This sounds a little bit more with a long tail, and with compression you can really bring up the tail. So I will put off the compressor, and the tail is gone, and I'll bring it back in. And I put it quite hard on the input, which means that you will have already a little bit distortion, but I like it. I can remove it a bit. So now. So you will hear already the sound of the kick drum is now different than when I put it off. This is original without. And here you really hear the longer tail pushed up. So let's dive in it a little bit deeper and keep this kick drum and try what we can get out of it by just changing some parameters on the compressor. So now it's a feed forward compressor. Let's check feed backward. It sounds more sweeter, and it has a long release, not really long, but it's a halfway release. So let's make a shorter release. So you get a little bit more aggressive sound. And the longer release, it's a little bit slower, because with a short release, the tail is coming up faster. Now it has a relatively long attack. Now I do a fast attack, you will hear it reacting faster. So here you really hear the transient. The transient is the first part of the kick drum. Is passing through, but really fast. You hear the release of the sustain of the kick drum coming up. Now it has a longer attack, and the transient is more aggressive, you can just hear it better. Now you really hear it pumping. So if I now add a hi-hat, let's see which one let's do. The funny thing with this now is that it sounds like the hi-hats are not constant. If I put off the compressor, the hi-hats are just regular in a straight on rhythm. Let's do it faster like this, and then I put on again. Because the kick drum is really long, the reaction of it now is also longer. So if I change it to a shorter kick drum, now you really hear the hi-hats coming up and down. So this is just the compressor. If I put off the compressor now, it starts like this. And of course I boosted it a bit, so let's do it like this, a little bit less. So you can really play with the sound, how it shapes the overall sound. Now I add a snare. No, it's not a snare. So here the snare is on the background if I put the hi-hat away. And let's see if I can find a clap with a longer attack. Okay, this is the attack clap. So this is a better example. Longer tail. This is without the compressor. With the compressor. Now with a very, very fast attack. And now if I add the kick drum, you really hear it pumping. Now it's like I think it's way too much compressing, but it's a fun way to show what a compressor does. So if I put off the compressor now, it's a total different sound. So I think you can understand the rabbit hole of compression. The compression is when you start to do it, you can get hours of fun just by changing the sound like this. This is a total different thing. So let's see what happens if I add a little bit of Now I change the kick drum again. I will put this a little bit softer because otherwise you don't hear what I say, I think. So now I just started the jam with an oscillator and some drums. Well, let's see what comes out if I go on with it. So it's okay. It's already 10 minutes. Sorry, I wanted to talk a little bit, but I always lost it what I'm doing. Sorry. So I didn't explain anything. Just talking a bit about my compressor, but it's 10 minutes. I wanted to say something about my modules. I always lose myself when I start playing. That's